Look, I love cruising. I love the cruise experience, but there's some cruisers I can't stand. I think there's some cruisers that should be banned. We've also got a rerouting issue playing out for another cruise line, and we've got cruisers asking people to sign a petition to get Carnival to do this. Will they? Yeah, all that and more on today's episode. Let's go. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to La Lido Loco. Welcome to the Cruise Show. I am your host, Tony, here to talk you through everything going on in cruising. It's everything going on in cruising. It's for your face on a Monday the 18th of August, 2025. And let's just start with a cruiser that should be banned. I was recently on the MSC World America, enjoying many wonderful entertainment opportunities in their main show, but almost without exception, every show I went to had some jerky cruiser coming in late, their family, acquaintances, coming in late and marching their late little selves down to the front row of the theater, only to discover that the front row was full because it's 5 minutes after the show started. At least 3 performances I saw, the person that was hosting the performance spoke to somebody that came in late with some sort of joke like, oh, is your watch broken? You didn't get the memo when the show started. It's ridiculous. I really think the cruise line has to, once the show starts, they need to post somebody up and make sure people don't go down to the front row. I think that's on the cruise line. But people that are cruising should take some responsibility. And if you can't figure out not to go to the front of the cruise, auditorium after you're late for the show, then you should be banished. Now, look, I don't think that person is as bad as the person that I think should be banned for removing their gratuities. Stick around to the end of the show to hear why they removed their gratuities, why they should be banned. But let's talk about a cruise that is being rerouted. Hurricane Erin causing problems. Hurricane Erin churning down in the Atlantic Ocean, churning in the Caribbean Sea, causing trouble for islands of Puerto Rico, San Juan. Supposed to go north, and it's that supposed to go north that is impacting cruise itineraries. We've got another one. We had a Royal ship that changed its itinerary. We had a Carnival ship that's changed its itinerary. And now we have Disney Cruise Line, the Disney Treasure. The Disney Treasure will be changing its itinerary because of Hurricane Erin. Originally scheduled a 7-night cruise to the Eastern Caribbean with stops in Tortola, St. Thomas. They're going to go to the Western now. Going to go west, young man. They're going to go to Cozumel, Georgetown, Cayman Islands, and Falmouth, Jamaica. Passengers have been notified. No compensation, right? This is the interesting question. I've seen a lot of people over the last few days like, well, what do you get when your cruise itinerary changes? You get safety. Come on, really? Like, you want to get a payday because they're keeping you safe from a hurricane? What is wrong with people? Packers, scammers, identity thieves. Oh my. Look, this is your monthly reminder that you've got to take care of your internet data. Whether you're at home or whether you're traveling, you need something to keep your data away from prying eyes. That's why I'm thankful for the sponsor of today's episode, Private Internet Access VPN. PIA VPN is an application that you run on your internet connected devices, which encrypts your data. It essentially hides it from those prying eyes. I like PIA VPN for several reasons. First, they have a no-log policy. They're protecting your data and they're not keeping your data. That's important. Also, all of your devices are included for just one subscription price. They have rock-solid 24/7 support and a 20-day money-back guarantee. And they also help you out with this thing called geofencing. One of my favorite movies of all times is Good Will Hunting. And I don't like to pay for a lot of these streaming services. I have Netflix. So I went looking for Good Will Hunting on Netflix, and it wasn't on the American version of Netflix, but it was on the Canadian version of Netflix. Fortunately, I can use PIA VPN to connect to a server in Canada, and I'm able to watch Good Will Hunting. How do you like them apples? Look, you can try PIA VPN for yourself at a discounted price. Click the link in the description to save 83% off of your PIA VPN subscription. Comes out to about $2.03 a month, and you get 4 months absolutely free. Thank you, PIA VPN, for sponsoring today's episode. Royal Caribbean, this one's a quick banger right here. They've announced that they're going to be amplifying the Ovation of the Seas, which means they're going to be updating some of the areas on the cruise ships, but they are going to add 40 more staterooms to Ovation of the Seas. and this will bring the capacity up. This is what happens in cruising. You can build new ships to increase the amount of berths in your overall fleet, or you can add staterooms. And sometimes we see popular venues going away, so staterooms can be added. So Ovation of the Seas getting the amplification. The ship was built back in 2016, so it's not that old, about 10 years old. Another big change happening on Ovation of the Seas is they're taking out the robot bar, the robotic mix bar, and they're going to add a pesky parrot, which is a bar that's on the Utopia that has an animatronic parrot, which is kind of cool. So taking out one robot for another. I don't know if any robot advocacy groups are up in arms, but how do you feel about a traditional looking robot looking like, a auto manufacturing robot mixing drinks, which is what we think of sometimes when we think of a robot, being replaced by a robot that looks like a bird? Is that robot discrimination? I don't know. Is that robot appropriation? Why don't you just put a real bird there? Are parrots going to be up in arms that now a robot parrot's going to be in the place of an auto parrot? That's all happening. That's all happening right now. Continuing the conversation, we have some Australian cruisers up in arms because not only have they lost P&O Australia as a cruise brand, being folded completely into the Carnival brand. P&O Australia, owned by Carnival Corporation. Carnival Cruise Line, owned by Carnival Corporation. A lot of people get that confused because the name's so similar, right? Carnival Corporation, Carnival Cruise Line. Carnival Cruise Line is a brand inside of Carnival Corporation, just like Princess is a brand and Holland America Line is a brand. P&O Australia was a brand. They dissolved the brand. They took those cruise ships and they rebranded it with Carnival Cruise Line branding. But one of the things that they took away was the very popular theme cruises. Australians love their theme cruises, 80s cruises, 90s cruises, Elvis cruises, those kind of comedy cruises. P&O Australia would do these things as part of their normal offering. A lot of times when you see theme cruises, it's some third-party company, Six Man, Entertainment Cruise Productions. Those are third-party companies chartering out a cruise ship and bringing that theme experience onto a chartered cruise ship. Well, inside P&O Australia, they handled that theme cruises themselves, no third party. And when that brand went away, P&O Australia, they have not announced any theme cruises under the new Carnival Cruise Line brand. And while that's bummed out some of our Australian cruising friends, they have started a petition, and they currently have 500 signatures over the last 48 hours to try to provoke or entice or to encourage, that's the best word, to encourage Carnival Cruise Line to bring back some theme cruises. Personally, I don't think that's going to happen, but what do you think? Do you like a good theme cruise? Have you ever been on a theme cruise? I've been on two. I've been on the Comic-Con cruise, and I've been on the 80s cruise. I'm returning back to the Comic-Con cruise. I'm not returning back to the 80s cruise. I didn't like that as much as the Comic-Con cruise. It's a little too clicky. But yeah, do you like a good theme cruise? Are you from Australia? Leave a comment below. Now let's talk about something that is making the cruise industry a little annoyed. Hawaii, the state of Hawaii, is proposing a reduction in cruise traffic, cruise visitors by 50% over the next few years, and then another reduction of that 50% by 50% going into the future. Interestingly, in this conversation about reduction of cruise traffic in Hawaii, there is one cruise ship that gets exempt from all of this. Norwegian Cruise Line's Pride of America. The lawmakers there in Hawaii are cool with that ship because it constantly does cruises around Hawaii. But all of the other cruise ships are fair game. And so we have local businesses and the cruise industry pushing back against this new initiative, saying it's too restrictive. It's going to hurt the tourism business in Hawaii. Please don't do it. So it's going to be interesting whether these laws are going to pass in Hawaii. I bring it up because we're seeing it all over the world. Governments, locales, local officials, local advocacy groups pushing back against cruise tourism. But what we've also seen at the same time is other locales opening up their arms and saying, hey, if they don't want you over there, then come here. So I think there's always going to be ports of call for cruise lines to visit. Maybe we see a shift in what are the most popular cruise ports because they're tired of having cruise tourism. But it'll be interesting to see if they push cruising out, how sad they will be. We've already seen some reports around the world where cruising has been limited, where business owners are feeling the pain. And yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens in Hawaii. All right, now let's circle back around to another cruise passenger that I feel like should absolutely be banned. I was listening to the paid cruise influencer for Carnival Cruise Line, John Hill. He was telling the story about a cruise passenger who was on a cruise that he was working, who purchased a handbag on the streets of Venice. And apparently the handbag that she purchased was a fake handbag, which is illegal to do in Venice. And as soon as she purchased the handbag, the police, they came in and busted the person and gave them a $400 or a 400-pound fine for purchasing the handbag. Now, the cruise passenger was upset with Carnival, saying that Carnival should have warned her about this law about purchasing fake handbags, and that Carnival should eat the $400 fine or the 400-pound fine. And Carnival said, no, we're not doing that. It's not our fault that you don't know the rules of Venice, and we're not going to do that. So this lady got so incensed that she berated the crew for the rest of the cruise, and she removed her gratuities. She removed her gratuities as a protest for having to pay this $400, 400-pound fine. And for that, I say that this cruise passenger should be banned. I'm certainly sympathetic to the fact that she got hit with a fine for some rule that she didn't know. But to take the money away from the room steward for your mistake, and you're somehow going to punish Carnival Corporation by not, tipping the person that cleaned your room, that's crazy. To me, the only reason that you should remove your room gratuities is if you have bad service. If you have bad service and you can't resolve it and you want to decrease or remove your room gratuities, do that, because that's what gratuities are for. I'm tipping you for good service, and if I get crappy service, take it off. But for any other reason, I think you should be banned. Hey, thanks again to PIA VPN for sponsoring today's episode. If you are entertained at all, please consider subscribing. We're trying to get to 300,000 subscribers, and now there's really nothing left to do but dance. That's right, we dance here. Get up, get up.